Over the years I've amassed quite a collection of 8-track cartridges, but the only place I can play them in decent quality in stereo is through my hi-fi system. Now some people would probably argue you can never play an 8-track in decent quality, but honestly I've got some that sound really quite good when they're played there, but not on any other piece of equipment that I've got. I haven't really got any other decent portable stereo players. And it's a bit silly because the whole raison d'etre for 8-track is that it's a portable format, of course, mostly in the vehicles. I'm not going to put a new 8-track cartridge player in my car though, so I'm looking for something more along the lines of an 8-track boombox. Now I do have these devices, National Panasonic TNTs, and I like these, they're fun little things. The sound quality, if I'm honest though, isn't all that good. It's pretty thin and tinny, more of a novelty than anything else, certainly doesn't get the most out of them. I did buy an 8-track stereo portable a while ago, but more as a curiosity than something that I'd want to use day to day. I'll explain why that would be in a moment, but it's this device over here. So we'll have a look at that in a minute. And then later on in the video, I'm also going to show you the device that I managed to find and I've settled on, which is more along the lines of what I wanted, an 8-track boombox. It looks quite modern really. Well, comparatively speaking. The only issue is that it doesn't play 8 tracks at the moment, so hopefully I can get that part of it working. But first off, let's just have a look at this and you'll see exactly why it's not quite the ideal thing to use. I suppose really this is an early attempt at a boombox, although of course they wouldn't know that's what they were doing when they made this, but it just shows that things did improve considerably later on. This early attempt is quite inconvenient to use. I'll explain what I mean as we go along. We'll just have a look around it first though. Volume, balance, tone and select. These are all twisters, that's a push button, and that will move your program through the 4 programs on the 8-track cart. We've got the Learjet Stereo 8 mentioned on the front here. So this shows it's an early device. They dropped the Learjet part of it later on and started calling it 8-track rather than Stereo 8. So it looks like a 1960s design to me, this, late 60s, solid state on the top there. I'm not entirely sure when this was made. Now, the handle on the top here, first inconvenience I suppose, that's fixed in position. There is a button here though. If you push that in, it pops in a little tab there and that enables you to move the handle, although not much use moving it at the moment because it doesn't really go anywhere. It catches on the back here. So I'll just pop it back up. That's where your 8-track goes in with the label facing towards the front, and if we just spin this around there's nothing much else to see on here other than another speaker on the back, but of course you don't really want the speaker on the front and the back when you're listening to stereo. So what happens is this thing comes apart. And actually it comes apart a little bit too easily, because if I was just to lean it like this now, it falls apart like that. The number of times that has dropped off on me is, well, I can't count them, but I'll explain more about that in a moment. Let's just look at some more inconvenient things here. First off, battery compartment down there. It takes 8 D cells. It says twist coin in slot to open, so it's not even a normal battery compartment that you can just pop open. You have to put a coin in here and twist it. As a result, that's quite scratched up, but I'll just use a penknife on it just to pop that down. So that's where your batteries go inside there. Now the back, the reason it falls off very easily is because it just has these 3 hooks here that rest over the top of these 3 positions. So when it goes back together, it just drops from the top and slides into position like that. But as you can see, it falls off a little bit too easily. Now another issue with it is we've got all the wires in here, and the wires serve 2 functions. First off, we've got the mains power lead here, and we've got this interconnect. And if we just undo these a little bit, this is what you'd have to do when you set it up for playing stereo. So that one you plug in the wall of course, and this one goes into here, and we'll just pop it into the back. So that connects this to that speaker, and it says stereo speaker right, so that's our right hand speaker. So if we were just to spin this around, that's how you're supposed to set it up every time you want to use it. So once you've finished playing your music, well, you've got to pack it all away again, and that just takes longer than we're accustomed to. Imagine you're just playing your normal boombox and you just stop playing your music and you want to pick it up and take it away. With this, you've got to put all this wire back in here, And once you've got it in there, this looks like one of those infomercials when I'm trying to do stuff wrong, but honestly, it is a pain in the neck. I'm just trying to get this shoved down inside. You've got to be careful to get it right down in here, because if you don't, the two halves won't go back together again properly, and you'll find that your wires foul in the middle. So you just got to be sort of careful when you lead it together. Hopefully that's got it. There we go. You can see why I thought about getting a different one, because this is just not the best way to go about things. Now this is more like it. To me that still looks quite modern. I suppose it shows my age, but it still looks contemporary to me. So this is better to start with because it's an FM and AM radio and an 8-track player. The cartridge goes in the side over here. We've got our stereo speakers permanently fitted on the front, just like a normal boombox. And we've got the ability to go between tape, FM stereo, FM mono and AM. And it's got a stereo accent, which is like a wide stereo mode. Everything on this, as far as the radio goes, is working just fine at least. Let me just turn the radio on. The reason I bought this, the 8-track player, I can hear the motor, but that's about it. So what we've got in here, no doubt, is a belt that's come off. The fact the motor's running very quickly also indicates the fact it's just spinning freely. So let's have a look inside. I've just noticed the AC socket is off to one side. I suppose I should put it back into position. It'll no doubt be a flat belt that needs replacing, and quite a large one. I'm not sure of the dimensions, of course, and there's very little information, if any, about this thing online. So it's going to take me a little bit of trial and error to get the right one in here, I think. Probably need to remove that from the side. That might be holding things together. Seems to split right at the middle of here though, so let's just have a look. Yeah, that is going through the case, so we'll take that out. And I think this one just needs loosening off a bit more. No, that's out of that. Right, this should come open. There we go. As usual with these things, you have to be careful that you're not pulling on any wires. I can see one down at the bottom and there's something at the top that's caught. Right, let's have a look at this. Now that belt is very easy to get to, and it makes you wonder why it wasn't spinning before, because it's still there. Was it just freewheeling? We'll have to put the power in to find out. There's our power socket, and it's actually snapped off, which isn't great. Perhaps I'll try and glue that back together again with some epoxy. I'm just going to unplug this antenna here, just makes it a bit easier to get a bit more of an angle on this thing. Right, I'm just going to put these batteries back in and see if we can get this thing spinning and see exactly what the problem is. Notice that I'm only using matching batteries. You wouldn't want to mix different battery manufacturers up, so they're all identical. Right, first off I need to just check I've got power going through because it's a bit flaky. Yeah, nothing at the moment. The battery connectors in here are rusted, so we do need to clean those off as well. But for the moment, I'll just spin these around a bit. Hopefully that's enough to get me a connection. Right, we've got power going in again, so we'll just close that up. Alright, let's stick our 8-track cart in here and see what the problem is. Need to turn the knob to the 8-track mode. There we go. Ah yeah, no, it is spinning, look. And the belt's not moving on it. It is now. Right, well as you can see it was a little bit loose, it still is. It will turn it, but we really need a new one of those just to provide a bit more grip. The whole thing had seized up due to the fact it hadn't moved for so long, but we'll just take that off there. So now I know that I need a belt of, well, that size or a tiny bit smaller. Let's see what that is, and that's a 9cm belt. How wide is it? It's about 5 mils. So if I get 85 by 5, I think we'll be about there. Let's see if I can find one of those. On eBay, I found the size I needed, 85mm diameter by 5mm width. This is a company I've ordered from before. They're based in the UK. They had a multi-buy offer on, so I decided to be on the safe side. I'll buy the next size up and down as well. Even if I don't use them here, I'm quite likely to use them on something else in the future. Okay, with the replacement now ordered, there's nothing else I can do with regard to the belt side of things, but we can glue this power socket back on. It does fit in there nicely. If I push it into position, it locates well. It just needs to be held there. So I am just going to put some epoxy resin on it. When this stuff sets, it should be probably stronger than the plastic it's stuck to. I found this stuff, that'll do. Just to hold it down in position. And of course at the end I'll take that off. But for the moment, it seems to be doing the job. Right, so that's all I can do for today. I'm going to carefully move this out of the way and wait for that to set. Well, while we're waiting for that, we might as well have a look at this thing. It's got its own issues. It was sounding very wobbly the last time I used this. Let's just get some batteries for this. So, once we get all these in there, we'll have a listen. 8-track in the side.
You got a lot of nerve to say you got a helping hand feeling.
Right.
You just want to be. Some writers and critics who prophesize with your pics. She takes just like a woman. They'll stone you when you're there all alone.
Right, well, clearly that wasn't working properly, so let's have a look inside this one, see exactly what's going on. I suspect this will need a belt as well. I'm hoping that's the only issue with regard to the sound. Right, let's see if this thing comes apart. Not too sure how it's going to do it. Since those were long screws, perhaps the front just comes off somehow. Yeah, something's moving. I think these knobs need to come off the top. We're getting some movement now on the right hand side. The left doesn't want to play. Let's have a look. I just think we need a bit of force perhaps. There we go. Right. Right, will that now come apart? Yes, just the one screw. Right, let's have a look at this though. Okay, yeah, and someone's just put a rubber band on there. Okay, well, I'm not surprised it's not playing at the right speed. It's also a bit tight, that one. Now, I perhaps should have ordered a replacement for this at the same time as I got my other belts. Let's get the other belt out and see what size that is on the pulley here. Just see if it is another 5mm belt. There's no point measuring that up because whoever put that on didn't put the right thing on. So let's just see. Would a 5mm belt work on here? You know what, this one actually seems to fit all right. That fits really well. That's a silly thing. I shouldn't be using an old belt like that, but honestly that feels really good on there. There's nothing wrong with that belt at all. Let's see if we've got a date on any of this in here. Made in... oh, just round the corner. How annoying. January something. Let's see if I can see. Oh no, made in Japan. 76... no. 1970, I think. June 1970 by the looks of that. Right, well, I'm happy with that belt, you know, so no point messing with that anymore. It seems to be sitting right on there. So it might have been too loose for the other machine, but it's working just fine in this one. Well, let's try playing the 8-track with our new old belt then.
Times they are a-changing.
Bit of contact clean on the pots as well.
whether you are.
It's working just fine, that now. No problem. Just pop it back together again. Well, the auto changer worked as well there. I haven't tried that before, so at least we know that's operating fine. And the lights here are lighting up. They are a bit faint, but they are working. Okay, it's day 2. Let's get this thing out of the way and have a look at the other one, see if that glue has set. Right, so let's just take the tack off the top and hope the socket doesn't come with it. Well, that seems nice and solid. Let's just have a look at the other side. Yeah, should work that with any luck. Now I'm still waiting for the belt, but while I'm doing that I can clean the contacts in the battery compartment. Yeah, those are very rusty. Okay, let's try cleaning them off. I've got a Dremel type tool here with a wire brush on. Let's see what that does. Yeah, that's nice and shiny. It's only the end part I need to clean. The whole thing's rusty, but it's the end section that we need to make sure gets a nice contact with the battery. Right, let's have a look. Oh yeah, we're straight on there. Those need a bit of a clean. Well, I've got nothing tuned in now, but still it enables me to hear whether there's any issue with the volume fading in and out, and it sounds fine to me. Nice and smooth adjustment there. Just making sure that wheel was nice and clean for when the belt does arrive. That looks as good as new now. This one is a little bit mucky, so I think I'll just get some isopropyl alcohol in there and just give it a wipe. Wasn't bad that actually, clean enough, leave it like that. I wonder if I can find any dates in here. Everything seems to be quite well hidden. I don't want to take things apart that I don't need to. No, there's nothing visible. I think the best chance would have been seeing a sticker on the motor, but that is well hidden in there. I'll need to take all this out, flip it over. More trouble than it's worth. One thing I haven't done is look for the model number. The model is a 3-5531A. And after quite a bit of searching, I did manage to find a mention of it in this May 1977 issue of High Fidelity magazine. In this roundup of portable music players, it's at the top right of the photo, on top of a tree stump, above a Weltron. And in the brief accompanying write-up, it refers to this as a new model that cost around $100. So there's our answer. This was launched in 1977. I can't imagine there were too many new 8-track stereo portables launched later than this one. Overall, considering its age, it's in very good condition. There's a couple little scuffs here and there, but nothing too serious. It's all made out of plastic, so there's various parts of this that could easily have got broken off over the years. But I think it's supposed to be more of a grey colour. This looks almost a camouflage green. But if we look under the handle here, oh, that's the colour it's supposed to be. But I don't think this greeny looking colour really does it a disservice. I think it still looks pretty neat. I've just noticed something's rattling around in there. Let's get that out. There it is. I can see it already. Right, so it's that was rattling. We can see that it comes off here. This is where one of the screws goes through from the outside of the case to the inside. Well, since we've got it, might as well glue it back on again. Well, that was quick. The postage just been and the belts have arrived. I only ordered these yesterday morning, so I'm very impressed with that. Now, I got 3 different sizes just to be on the safe side. This is the one that I thought would fit originally, 85 mils, so let's give it a go. It's a good size flywheel that. It should provide it with accurate speed, or at least consistent speed. Let's just pop this around here and see if that's slightly loose perhaps. No, I don't know. Might be right that. You don't want it too tight because then it starts dragging on it. Could that slip? Let's just find out. No, it won't slip. I think I'll stick with that one because it's just tight enough. I've just got that one wire from the antenna to attach onto the back here again. Make sure that's in place, and we'll just pop the 2 halves together. Give this a go. still using this same 8-track again, so it's in the right position. Let's pop that in.
Just want to be on the side that's writers and critics who prophesize with your boots. She takes just go home. They'll just throw you in. Just
Okay, it sounds a lot better than the other one. This is the one that I'll definitely use over that older machine if I wanted to play an 8-track on the move. The only issue I can see is the number 1 light doesn't light, but the rest of them do. 2, 3, 4, and 1. Let's just have a look if it's easy to access that. I suspect not, and it's probably something I'll just leave, because if it's blank, then I know we're on program 1, and then you can tell what other program you're on by the one that's lit. Well, it's going to be buried somewhere inside here. Let's just see where the bulbs are. They're just about that position on the front. I think it might be worth trying to take out these 2 screws here, seeing if this whole section just lifts out. At least then I can find out what kind of bulb it is and order one, and then maybe put it in at another date. Okay, so that's the screws out. Let's just see if this thing moves. Hold on, there's a knob on the front. So this is what's on the outside here. It should just lift off this, but I don't want to break anything. Oh, is this a step too far? That is not moving at all, and I suspect perhaps at some point someone might have glued it on, because it really is firm there. Yeah, I'm going to leave it. I don't need that first light lighting up for this thing to work, so let's just put the screws back in here. And that is one of the benefits of doing things yourself, because I'm happy with that light not working, but if I was doing a repair for someone else, they'd want it to work, and then I'd have to try and get that knob off, hopefully not break anything, and then disassemble all this section. As it is, leave it as it is. It's working fine for me. I'm happy with it. Let's pop it back together again. I think I'll just clean this off before I pop it back on. Yeah, that's looking a lot better. Just don't tell the missus that I've used her nail brush for cleaning this tuning knob. Right, so once this is back in position, that's it. Job done. Right, so let's just check the features out again. Now, while we've got FM and FM stereo, the stereo accent button gives a wider effect to the stereo. And notice next to there we've got a channel repeat button, that's for the 8-track. So you could just, for example, play one of these over and over again, and it will automatically switch to the next one if that's left off. You've got a really nice chord storage system. The end of that holds in the top there, and then you just unwrap all this and the plug just fits in a hole there. So we could just put this now into the socket that we've glued back into position, which seems to be working just fine.
why don't you?
Focus in on this section here and see if this auto jumps at the end of this loop onto program or channel number 3. Well, that worked just fine. So what we'll do now, we'll go back to the second program. Oh, did we see a light come on then? Did you see that? Ah, look, number 1's working now. God, I didn't take it apart.
Makes love just yeah, but I wouldn't. You always act surprised, and your daughters are beyond your command. But she breaks just like a little.
When I look at these 3 devices behind me, I see designs that would not be out of place in 3 different decades. That, the 60s, this one, the 70s, and that, the 1980s. It really does look a lot more modern than the others, although they were all on sale in the 1970s, stretched out throughout that decade, admittedly. Now, this is a bit of a novelty. We'll keep that one to the back. It's a mono device, so not really in this conversation. If we just look at these 2 things, though, I'm so glad that when we went on to have the boomboxes of the late 70s into the 80s and perhaps on into the 90s, that they were more akin to this design. I mean, you stick a cassette deck in the middle of here and it would not look out of place at all. It's only when you turn it to one side you see that 8-track cartridge slot that you think something is a little bit different about this. Whereas this is a completely different kettle of fish. Just imagine all the boomboxes of the 80s were based on this kind of design, where you have a speaker attached on the back that you have to detach and build your own stereo system, plugging everything in, unplugging it again when you're finished. It would certainly cramp the style of a few B-boys. Perhaps you could carry it around with one speaker on either shoulder. But yeah, I'm much happier with the look of this, and I'm happy with the quality of it as well. It's got a really nice sound quality to this. It really brings out the best in the 8 tracks that I've got that play well. I mean, they really do sound nice on this. They've got a nice tone to them. Of course, you can adjust the tone on here as well. The radio picks up a good strong signal, and if you put that stereo accent on while you're listening to 8 tracks, you get a really broadened soundstage, and it does feel like you're listening to a much larger device than you are, and it really has a great performance. It plays at a decent speed. I don't notice any wow and flutter, unlike this device, which really I'm going to have to keep as a curiosity. I don't want to put any more 8 tracks in here. I've had it chew the odd one up, or at least pull the tape out of it, and whether that's down to the 8 track or the machine, I'm not too sure. But even when this thing plays them properly, they're all playing at a weird speed, wobbly, doesn't sound good at all. So that one is just a bit of a museum piece. This is the thing I'm going to be using around the house. I'll use it in the garden, in the garage, in the kitchen. It's just such a nice little device. I'm glad I got hold of this. That is what I've been doing this week. I've been getting a couple of 8-track players working, and that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.